Good evening, Nick family. Welcome to the playoff edition of the Queen's Court. We're about to get into it today. As always, I have a lot to say. Again, just want to shout out Sam for producing the show. Sorry about that. I want to say shout out again and show love to Sam for producing the show, the logo, the slides, and just being on point with it all, being easy to work with, inviting me to host the show. This is actually, with this being the end of the regular season, my first experience being on a panel anywhere, actually. And it's been a great run. I'm looking forward to being with the panel and being with the NBA fam for years to come. So thank you, Sam. Thank you, fellow MBK panelists and the other MBK family of shows, and all of the content creators, people in the chat, people who DM me, hit me up. I appreciate all the love. Those who watch the show, they don't watch it live, but you watch it afterwards. I appreciate you as well. All right. Let's get into it. Just quickly, let me just shout out a few of the fans that came here early in the chat. France, I miss you, man. Frederick, Cindy Nevins, Kevin Bergen, Tony Crow. If you get an opportunity, I know I mentioned this on the last show, to check out Knicks and Bruises. He has a lot of people on there, content creators and other fans as well, who tell their Knicks story and what it's been like to be a Knicks fan over the years. If you get an opportunity, check out his channel. Andy in the house from Poland, I appreciate you. 6 hour difference. Bodega Wi-Fi, Clever Star. Appreciate everybody. If I forgot your name or I didn't read it correctly, excuse me. All right, we're gonna get with the weekend review. This is pretty quick. We into playoffs now, so I don't want to go too much into what happened with Charlotte and Boston, other than the fact that we beat Charlotte in overtime. The next day, we beat Boston. They didn't have a lot of their players there. It went down to the wire. A lot of people saying it should not have. But at the end of the day, we did what we were supposed to do. We got that W, and we secured the 4th seed and home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs, at least. So shout out to the Knicks for making that happen. The other thing that happened since we last met was Tim Tibbs was named Coach of the Month. Yeah, I think we could do that every month, if you ask me. Tibbs was named Coach of the Month, well-deserving in terms of what he's been able to do with this roster from the time he came here, and just his consistency and how he's handled things. I'll talk more about just the organization later on, but shout out to Tibbs for that. If you didn't know, Julius Randle is a finalist for Most Improved Player, and Derrick Rose is a finalist for Sixth Man of the Year. I know Julius would be happy if he got Sixth Man of the Year, but he better make the All-NBA team. I'm going to be tight, and I'm sure he will be too. He should get both of those acknowledgments for what he's done for us this season. I'm not sure about Derrick Rose. For me, definitely he should be a finalist. He did miss some time. I don't know if they're going to hold that against him, but he's elevated our team since he came here. And what he does for us in that second team is just remarkable. So shout out to him, and hopefully he'll get it. I think it's going to be a tough role for him. So just quickly, I want to do a season review. Again, I want to spend most of the time talking about the playoff series against Atlanta, but I do want to talk some about just where the Knicks were last season and where they were now, where they are this season. They played 66 games last season. Remember, because of COVID, the season was cut short. They were 21-45. This season, 72 games, 41-31, which is a 20-game difference. Also better as far as our defensive rating and our offensive rating. And just my take, I'll go down. I'll start with the front office. I think the hiring of Leon Rose, there was some concerns because he was a player agent, how well he would do. But what I like about Rose is that what he did was, I don't know if it was that he accepted his limitations or what, but he went ahead and put together the best front office he can get. in terms of capologists, with the gentleman that was hired from Cleveland. I think another front office guy from Utah to help with free agency scouting, college scouting, just put a top-notch team around him. And that's what leaders do. You know your limitations, you know what you can and you cannot do, and you put a team around you so that together you guys can get it done. And part of that was also hiring Tibbs, who was my first choice. And I think for me, I was thinking just more about the organization was just in shambles, in my opinion, on multiple levels, not just the basketball court, and that Tibbs would bring some respectability to the court, while Leon Rose would bring respectability to the front office. And that did happen. I'm not one of those ones who said we would make the playoffs or that we would win 40 games. I thought we would win like 25 games. I'm not going to lie, even with Tibbs, right? There wasn't a lot of turnover on the roster. So for me, 25 games, I thought. But that's the Tibbs effect, you know. Over time, he may wear on an organization, he may wear on players. But for right now, where the Knicks were, he was exactly the person that we needed. And he came in, he got the job done. I didn't have a problem if they hired Atkinson. He was my second choice. But when they hired Tibbs at his age, that sent the message to me that the Knicks were trying to win now, especially in terms of how he loves veterans. That signaled to me that was going to be a significant shift in the direction of the organization. And sure enough, he played the veterans. He played those who he felt were the best players to put on the court. Obviously, if you were a rookie and you earned the time, you got it, right? Look at Quickly. He earned the time and he got it. So, and just talk a little bit about the roster before I move on to the Atlanta, the New York Atlanta series. Obviously Randall was here last year, but he picked his game up. Big time. Just going from, obviously he was our number one option last year, but he didn't look like a number one. This year, he looks like a number one. I would like to see him in the playoffs, though, to solidify that. But he was our best player, no doubt. It was just minor changes, bringing in Berg, bringing in Noel, RJ playing better than he did. All of this helped to elevate our team. Drafting Quickly in the first round at number 25, somebody that was not on my radar. I'm not sure it was on a lot of people's radar as far as a pick for the Knicks. And he came in and played very well for us and outplayed really our number 8 pick in Obi. So it's been a great season for us. I know some fans are kind of divided on this. The season is a success already. We can go into the playoffs, get blown out, and not win one game. And there's many Knicks fans who feel like we're on our way. And I've even heard some Knicks fans go the opposite way and say, if we don't play well in this series, the season was a loss. I don't think I would go that far. I don't think the season would be a loss if we got swept in this series. But I would be very disappointed, and the Knicks would have underperformed in order for that to happen, in my opinion. All right, so let's get into the Atlanta series. I want to welcome BX Jetty Sports Talk. Who else? Pudge Nice. Anybody else that has joined us? Sent him. Andy said, I feel they gave him the last coach of the month, so they're going to skip him for the season, for the season award. I hope not. From what I understand, and I could be wrong, somebody in the chat can correct me, but wow, his name escapes. Oh, Monty Williams for Phoenix got the Coach of the Year award that's given by the NBA Coaches Association. This is my understanding. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but that the official Coach of the Year, the NBA Coach of the Year, has not been decided yet. So somebody please correct me if I'm wrong. All right. So let's get into this series. I got a lot to say. Let's just start with some general notes. I got a lot of notes. If you see me looking down, there's no way I can remember all all of this. But Atlanta had the second best record in April. New York had the fourth best record in April. New York beat Atlanta 3 times during the season. Take a look at this stat, is the scores on the slide. So the last game we played April 21st at the Garden, we beat them 137-127. If you remember, Trae Young hurt his ankle, I want to say in the third quarter, and they were up, I want to say. We wound up winning that game February 15th, also at Madison Square Garden. We won 123-112. And January 4th, we played for the first time in Atlanta at State Farm Arena, and we won 113-108. The first 2 games was under the prior coach, Pierce. So only the last game was under the new coach, McMillan, and Trae got hurt in that game. So listen, we beat them 3 times, but I don't think because of that the season series is a lock, right? I'm not going in and saying, we beat them 3 times. All right, I'll give them a game. We should beat them, 4-1. There were different circumstances around those games, but what I did take out of it was Atlanta had a difficult time guarding Julius, whether that was under Coach Pierce or Coach McMillan. They had a tough time with that. And the Knicks had a tough time in the pick and roll. I'm going to get into that more later. If you didn't see the show yesterday, you have an opportunity on this channel. Sam did a playoff review and got into the pick and roll that Atlanta plays and what New York has to do if they want to be successful against it. And trust me, if we're going to win this series, it's because we play that pick and roll very well. There's a lot of options off of that. I also have the team stats. New York versus Atlanta. New York 120-24 points, shot 51.7%, 47.8% from the three-point percentage. That's significant. I personally don't think Atlanta is a very good defensive team. I think the defense has improved under Coach McMillan. It's gotten better. But I still think the Knicks are going to be able to continue to put up points against Atlanta. I think that's going to stand. I don't know if it's going to be 124, but I don't think, like others do, that the Knicks are going to have problems scoring against Atlanta. We will see. And I think, if we can bring it up one more time, that the defensive rebounds, we actually out-rebounded them. And I actually thought the offensive rebounds would be more. When I think of Capella, I just think of him just killing us on the offensive board, but it's really just 1.3 over the course of the series. That being said, I'm still concerned about Atlanta and the second chance point. If we could just pull up the slide on Julius, who was a monster against Atlanta. He averaged, we have that, 37.3 points, 12.3 rebounds, 7 assists, shot 58% from the field, and 50% from three-point line. We're going to pull that slide up later on as well, but they had problems guarding Julius, and I think that's still going to be a problem. And I think whatever adjustment they make is going to open up other things for us. We'll get into that later. All right. Actually, we'll get into it now. So this is my concerns over playing Atlanta. I have 4 concerns playing them. Number 1 is their pick and roll play. And again, if you get the opportunity, go check out the video. This is the issue with the pick and roll. Every option off the pick and roll, they can convert, right? Trae can hit, if you go under the screen, he can hit the 3, right? If he gets past you, he can pull up for the jumper, he can hit the floater, right? He can hit Capella for the alley-oop. They have good 3-point shooters, right? The other thing I think that makes it difficult on the pick and roll is if you notice, if you get an opportunity, when Trae gets a step on his defender, he keeps them on his hip, right? He has contact with them. And the reason why that's significant is that player then has a difficult time getting back in front of him. And he will actually move his body to actually keep them there, right? So what that does is that gives him more time to survey and see what his options are and allow those options to develop and to see how the Knicks are playing the pick and roll, right? If he didn't do that, and you'll see this a lot, a player on a pick and roll, the defender will get picked off. They'll have one or two steps on their defender, but their body is not on the defender. So they only got like a second or two to make their decision really quick before that defender has the opportunity to get back in the play. Because Trey is keeping that defender on the hip, he has a little more time to survey, a little more time to watch things develop, a little more time to see, is that center coming out to guard me? And then I have the alley-oop for Trey, for Capella. If they hedge and it looks like I have Capella and the baseline defender pinches in early to cover Capella because they think that's where I might be going with the ball, then I can hit the 3-point, the person in the corner for the 3-point shot. So I think the pick and roll is difficult in and of itself because they have so many options, but it's also because of how he keeps that defender on the hip and gives himself some more time to figure out what he's going to do. I have no doubt in my mind that of those two thick books that Tibbs has said to have given to the players, that the different ways to cover the pick and roll has to be in. And I don't think it's one way. I think there's multiple ways. And the bottom line is the Knicks are going to have to give up something, right? Unless you can keep Trey in front of you and slip that pick and roll, get through that the pick and stay in front of him, fine. That's just not going to happen. Once he gets past his defender, all of the options, that pick and roll is in play. All of those options are in play. And basically, the Knicks are going to have to decide what can they live with and what can't they live with, because they're not going to be able to stop it all. That's just how it works. And for all of those who were clamoring for Rose to start, and I think a lot of it was for offensive purposes, but keep in mind, defensively and watching the tape, Trey was able to get past Rose as well and initiate the pick and roll. So it's going to be a problem for us. And I'm concerned about that. And I would think that that is number one on Tibbs' list. The second thing I'm concerned about with Atlanta is their shooting. You know, Hunter is back. He's been injured for a little bit, but my understanding, I think he's been back for a few games. I think he's in the starting lineup now. That moves Herter to the bench. That gives them more shooting in there from the bench. So I'm concerned about their shooting. If the Knicks rotations are off, they can get open shots, but not even that. Shooters shoot. And if they get hot, it doesn't really matter what your rotations are. You basically have to wait for that momentum to stop through a timeout or something. So they have those types of players in their front court, in their starting lineup, but also in their bench. I'm not that concerned, and I'll get into this later, about the bench so much because they're not very good defensively. And what they get in terms of bench scoring, they're going to give it up as well in terms of defending the Knicks. So I am concerned about their shooting. Let's just see what the chat has to say so far. Tony Cole, we got to limit the fouls. If I'm the center, I'm sagging off Capella in the pick and roll. He can't shoot. Yeah, he can't shoot, but the alley-oop is there. Knicks all day, of course. Frank might get some burn. Yes. Okay. My other concern, I have four. The third one is Trey and his, not just his shooting ability, but his big-time play ability. There's only a few players in the league who can win a game for you by themselves. And Trey, in my opinion, is one of those players. If he gets hot, he could pull up from anywhere, and that could extend their lead. That could bring them back if we're ahead. He has that big play ability. So I am concerned about that. He also draws fouls at a very high rate. Now, if the officials have what somebody said today, and I like playoff whistle, we might be okay, in the sense of just allowing that physicality and not blowing the whistle too much and allowing players to play through. If they do that, that's to our advantage, playing Trae Young. But if they don't, if they're calling the ticky-tack like they've been doing and he gets hot, he's very crafty in drawing fouls, right? So now you've got him shooting the three. Now you're trying to get up close because he could pull up from anywhere. He can also drive by you. It could be a mess. It could be a mess. So that is another concern. It's just Trae Young, his big shot ability and his range. He hasn't been shooting it that great. I think 34% this season, below his average, and I believe below the league's average. But a player like that can never get too comfortable. So whoever is guarding him, I think it's going to have to be a team concept anyway. I don't care if it's Frank. I don't care who it is. You're not guarding him by yourself. And my last concern is Capella's offensive rebound. Let me tell you, I don't know if you've played basketball before, but you play really good defense and you're unable to secure the rebound. And now the clock resets, and you have to play it again. Or you don't get the offensive rebound. They get it. They throw it out to a three-point shooter who's not covered, and they hit a three. That could be demoralizing. Now, look, the Knicks are mentally tough. They'll bounce back. But that's not something I would like to see in the playoffs. And I'm pretty sure in those two thick books is how that they have to keep Capella off the ball and can't give up second chance shots. And that means we're going to have to team rebound, right? Can't just be Noel. Can't just be Randall. The guards are going to have to rebound as well. And that's it. Anybody else, if you have other concerns about the this matchup, because I want to move on to what I think is our edge over Atlanta. Salute to you, Sergeant Knicks, G-Man for life. Appreciate you. Tony Crow, we got shooters too. Plus they have less players. Tony, you are taking my points. Plus they have less players that can create their own shot. Our shooters do more than just shoot. That is one of my points. Tony is on it. Shout out to you, King Philip, everybody else, Phoenix down, that's here. Any concerns you have over with Atlanta for the Knicks, put it in the chat. BX Jetty, Hawks are not a physical team and they might get frustrated. If we get that playoff whistle and they're not calling the physicality, they're letting that go, yes, I do think the Knicks will have an edge. If they're calling it really tight, ticky-tack fouls, I think the Knicks, they'll have to adjust. I think with the officials, the only thing you can ask for is consistency. Don't call it tight sometimes, loose the other times. If it's going to be tight, let it be tight. If it's going to be loose, let it be loose. Don't mix it up. That is when it becomes difficult. So I want to get into our edge against Atlanta. Number one is our defense. I have seen good defensive teams take a player or players out of a game and out of a series, right? Where the defense is so good, the adjustments are so good to how that player plays that they end the game well below average or in the series well below average. The Knicks have that type of defense. So everyone's talking about the Knicks shooters. Don't be surprised when the Knicks win this series and you look at the box scores for each game and you notice that so-and-so, I don't know who it is, who that so-and-so will be, did not play up to their regular season average. Don't be surprised. That is going to happen. It very well may happen for the Knicks as well. But for sure, the Knicks defense is better than Atlanta. They're going to take some player out of the game, one or more player out of the game. You can mark that down. So our defense is better. Now, their defense has improved under McMillan. I want to say maybe they went up 5 spots defensively, but it's still not as good as the Knicks, right? So that's one of our edges, in my opinion. Well, it's not even my opinion. I'm sure many people will agree that the Knicks have the edge defensively. I think the second edge we have is Julius Randle. Now, Julius killed them in the first half. And during the 3 games that we played, we put that slide up earlier. I think he averaged like 37 points, 11 rebounds, 58% from the field, 50% from the 3-point line. He was killing them. They were trying to guard him with Collins. Collins can't guard him, period. But just like Tibbs gave the Knicks those 2 big books, to study for the playoffs in terms of what they're going to do against Atlanta, I'm sure, I don't know if it's 2 books, but I'm sure Atlanta is prepared for the Knicks as well. I think they know that Julius killed them, and they're going to have something for him. What are they going to do? Are they going to double team him? I think he's pretty good at reading the double teams and getting it out to shooters. We're shooting very well now. I think we got like 6 players shooting over 38%. That bodes well for us, so we can shoot the ball. So I think he's going to still be a problem for them. The other thing that I like about Julius, it could be annoying at times, but in hindsight, I kind of see why he's doing it. He gets, especially when he's in the post, he turns into the key like he's going to take the shot. He jumps up like he's going to take the shot. And at the last minute, he makes the pass to the shooter. You can argue that our shooting percentage is as high as it is because of the open looks that the team is getting, right? And Randle is generating that for them. How many times have you seen a Knicks player take a 3-pointer with a hand in their face? Not many, right? Most of the shots that they get are open shots. And that's because Randle kind of waits to the last minute and gives them that little, a little more space because the defender really thinks he's going to shoot. They suck in maybe a little more. So they think he's going up. That gives the shooter a little more space. And if you are a shooter, I wasn't, but this is what I've been told. If you're a shooter, what looks like a little bit of space is actually a lot of space. And that's what Randle does for our shooters. So I think the double teams will still come. I think they're going to be, they're going to come from different places to try to keep him on his toes, try to throw him off balance so that the double team is not coming from the same place each time. And Julius is going to have to be able to read that. What I would like to see for Julius is to take the shot, even if there's a double team. And let me explain that. Not all the time, but Julius, if they decide that they're going to double team all the time, I don't think we win if Julius Randle is strictly a facilitator, right? We're going to need him to score for us. There's times on the double team, before the double team is set, where he could split that double team, turn right into the key, put his shot up, right? Or if the double team is coming from the middle, he can turn baseline before it gets there and gets set and take the shot. I think a lot of times he waits on that double team. And for the most part, he's been making good decisions out of it. But I think that there are times where he can move quickly and get a shot off before the double team sets. And he may need to do that. He is a willing passer, but it can work against you if you are such a willing passer that without even thinking, oh, a double team is coming, let me pass it. A double team is coming, let me pass it. And at the end of the game, you've taken like 5 shots. I don't think that's going to work well for the Knicks unless the shooters are just shooting lights out. I don't think it's going to work well for them. Definitely, of course, a series. He's going to have to shoot. And if they commit to double teaming him on every possession, he's going to have to find a way to get some good shots off before the double team is set. So our defense is an edge against Atlanta. Julius is an edge against Atlanta. And I want to get to my bench. Tony Crow in the chat kind of stole my thunder, but I'm going to get into it anyway. Gallinari comes off the bench. Herter with Hunter back is coming off the bench. Snell comes off the bench. Lou Williams comes off the bench. But in checking the box scores, and this is for Atlanta, of course, in checking the box scores, Lou Williams is not getting a lot of time. Now, I don't know if that's just because they're saving him for the playoffs and because he has that experience. I'm not sure, but he's not getting a lot of time. So yes, those players I just mentioned can shoot, but can they get their own shot? This is the thing when you have a team that's full of shooters. It could get disrupted by good defense, but obviously if you move the ball fast enough, you're going to get a shot off. But shots can go or not go, not even dependent on the defense. The defense cannot be there and you can miss a shot. That's just how shooting goes, right? You make them or you don't. So they have shooters. Our edge, I think, is that we have shooters, but we also have players that can put the ball on the floor and go to the rack. And you're going to need that and draw fouls. Rose can do that. Burke can do that. And to a lesser extent, RJ can do it, though he doesn't look as fluid to me, putting the ball on the floor, like faking a shot and putting the ball on the floor and going in. But he can do it. And quickly has gotten better at it. Now, is he comfortable enough to do that in a playoff series? I don't know. But I did notice toward the end of the season that he was faking, going in, and putting the ball up high off the glass, right? I mean, shout out to IQ for just his in-season development. And you don't really see that a lot. But I can see his offensive game is just really, he's adding layers to it. And if he feels comfortable with that in the playoffs, that could bode well for us. So I believe, people talk about Atlanta's bench. Oh, they're very deep. They have a deep. When I look at the box scores, it's like 8 deep. I don't really see like them 10, 12 deep with these shooters, and no disrespect to them. They can't shoot the ball, but we could shoot as well. And we have people who can put the ball on the floor, take it to the hole, and draw fouls. So maybe I'm the only one, but I give the edge to our bench. Do we have? I think we also have the bench scoring for both teams, but I have it here. Rose averages, there it is, 14.8 points off the bench in 26 minutes. Burke, 12.4 points in 25 minutes. Quickly, 11.3 points in 19 minutes. Taj, 5.3 points in 20 minutes. And Obi, 4.1 points in 11 minutes. For Atlanta, Gallinari, 13.3 points in 24 minutes. Herter, 12 points in 30 minutes. Lou Williams, 10 points in 21 minutes, though. Some of that is I'm wondering if some of that is the Clippers as well. I forget, but I believe that includes the entire season. I'm not sure. But he's not playing that many minutes, but they very well may increase his minutes in the playoffs because of his experience and his shooting. And Hill is averaging 4.5 points and 21.3 minutes. So in terms of bench scoring, I'm comfortable with the Knicks bench scoring, and I'm also comfortable with how the Knicks get it, right? They could, especially somebody like Rose, surprising me with his three-point shooting, he's now shooting on all three levels: three-point, mid-range, take it to the basket with the floater, right? So I'm very comfortable in the Knicks bench. And in my opinion, I think the Knicks has the edge as far as the bench is concerned. Let's see what the chat has to say before I get into my Knicks concerns. I actually have Knicks concerns. Kevin Bergen, Atlanta will fold like a lawn chair. I hope so. I don't think they will, but I hope they do. Appreciate you, Tony Crow. Preach, Kareem, preach. I guess he agrees. Atlanta is soft. just remember how the Knicks are the Knicks. Um, Snell shoots 56% for three. Yeah, no doubt about it. Listen, I don't think the Knicks can sleep on their shooters. They can shoot, right? I just think that the Knicks can shoot as well. So Trae Young, and his game has evolved, since Nate McMillan has taken over, right? He's not just shooting from deep. I think there were times when his teammates would complain because he's just shooting where other people were open. He's facilitating more. He's taking a shot when he has it. He's managing the game, right? So he has these shooters around him and he's utilizing them. And that makes the game easier for him. So don't get me wrong. This is not going to be an easy series for the Knicks by any stretch of the imagination because of those shooters. And Trae now really looking for them and getting the ball to them in the spots in which they can shoot it. But we have something similar as well with Randall in the post also looking for shooters. And if you run out at our shooters, you can take it, not just fake and step in and take a shot. Other than Bullock, I think that's what Bullock will do. He'll fake and take a step or two in and shoot it. But there are others who could go all the way and draw the foul. So in my opinion, even though they shoot the ball very well, I think we shoot just as well, maybe have more people that shoot it as well, and also have people that can draw the foul and hit it to the rack. Okay, my concerns. So can something be an edge and a concern? That's what I got for Julius. Julius is an edge for us. He gives us that edge, I think, over Atlanta. But Julius is also a concern in this respect. His playmaking has to be on point. Now, I'm not saying that he can't make mistakes and he can't turn the ball over here and there. That happens to any play. I've seen LeBron turn the ball over multiple possessions in a row, right? But he cannot be out of sorts for a long period of time to the point where he's, I don't want to say confused, but he's having a difficult time reading the defense. So it's at a point where they're doubling him, he's not scoring, and the decisions he's making out of that double team are not great decisions, right? If that happens, it's a wrap for us, especially if our shooters, and I guess this is the other concern, so I'll just put them together, is if the shooting, which I just spoke so highly of, doesn't shoot well. If our shooting doesn't show up and our shooters don't shoot well, it's going to be a problem. Now you got Julius being double teamed, getting the ball to shooters who are missing. In my opinion, that's a wrap. Everything pretty much shuts down at that point. So we need Julius to be Julius and score some, pass some, and we need our shooters to shoot. Listen, Atlanta may take some of our shooters out of the game, right? We may look at a box score when the series is over and look and say, wow, so-and-so didn't perform as well as they did in the regular season. That can happen, right? That can happen. It can happen. We'll get more into that in this last section, but that's my concern. Julius just not being the playmaker that we need him to be, and the shooters missing shots. Those are the only two concerns I have about the Knicks. The Knicks are mentally tough. This playoff atmosphere. Listen, people talk about the playoffs like it's some boogeyman that comes over you. The playoffs is the other team. It's the other team adjusting for you. It's the other team being able to study you now, like they're in a lab, and being able to make adjustments game after game after game. And you now having to be able to still score and still defend despite the other team's adjustments. That's the playoffs, right? It's not like a spirit. They couldn't handle the playoff spirit. Yes, there'll be, the game will slow down. The refs may call it a bit different. You do have that. But most of what the Knicks are going to face, the big challenge, is going to be the Hawks and their game plan. That's the big challenge for the Knicks, right? And I just think we have enough. Maybe I'm one of them delusional rah-rah Knicks fans, but I just believe we have enough. I don't think Atlanta's bench is going to be concerned. Trey is, as I mentioned in the prior segment, is a concern. I'm moving to the last segment. Trey Young, let me just see what the chat is saying. Joe Sears, Julius is not, okay. Let's get to the chats and let's get to the super chat. Michael Parker, thank you for the super chat. Salute Knicks. Knicks in 6. That's what I say. Knicks in 6. I'm hearing that a lot. I've heard some 5s as well. Joe Sears, I just want to get back to that. Just give me, I may not be able. Oh, Julius is not going to beat an entire team. And if you think D Rose and RJ are going to be the answer, LOL, good luck. Julius doesn't have to beat the entire team. We have a team. We have a team. So Julius doesn't have to beat the entire team. But Julius, because our offense flows through him, Julius has to be Julius, right? And basically, as Tip says, the defense is going to dictate how Julius plays, whether he's a scorer, whether he's a facilitator. But I still think there has to be a good mix. D Rose, Bullock, Burke. I would be shocked if those guys weren't ready for this series. I would be shocked. Phoenix down, Knicks sweep Atlanta 4-0. I guess that's the narrative. Hit that like button. All right. Okay. All right. So I'm going to just do a quick questions, 30 and just with 30-second answers, just a quick hit questions. And if you want to answer the questions, you can answer them in the chat as well. Number 1, most likely to struggle in the playoffs and why? I think Obi is the most likely to struggle, but we're talking about who's most likely to struggle and it really matters. And that would be RJ. I think he is most likely to struggle. I hope he doesn't. I really hope he doesn't. And the only reason I say that is he plays within the flow of the offense. He's just not somebody like a Burke who's going to come out of the flow of the offense, not necessarily wave people off, but you can see when Burke has the ball, he's not giving it up. He starts dribbling around, just give him space. You're not going to get it. RJ is not that type of player. He plays within the flow of the offense. So if he's not getting a pass off of Randall out of a double team, I don't really see him creating his own shot. So I see him as the most likely to struggle in the playoffs. We'll see. We will see. Can we win this series if Trey averages 30 points? Yes, we can. If he averages 40, it's a wrap. But if he averages 30 points, yeah, the Knicks can win this series. It depends on what they're doing, how they're defending the other players. And it also depends on what we're doing on the offensive end. So, yes, I think we can win the series if Trey averages 30. Would I start Elf in game 1? Yes, I would. And we've talked about this ad nauseum on Nothing But Knicks podcast. Listen, our chemistry is important. Keeping our rotations intact, at least to start the game, is important. Elf is playing 12 to 13 minutes a game at this point in the season. All of those who think that if we lose this series, it's because Elf played 12 minutes. Those are people that don't want to see what's really going on in the game, right? Even if we're behind, and I don't think that narrative is totally true. Every game we're playing from behind. But even if we are, we've done it enough to win 41 games. We've done it. We've climbed back into this depth, into the game, out of this big hole that Alfred has put us in the first quarter. We've been able to climb out of this imaginary hole and win 41 games and secure the 4th seed in the playoffs. So I'm okay with him starting those and playing those 12 or 13 minutes. I think if you change that up put Rose in the starting lineup or whoever you put in the starting lineup, it changes everything. People now are used to getting the ball in a particular spot. They at this point, they're used to knowing if I do this, this is going to happen, right? You put Frank in there, you put Rose in there. Now they have to make those adjustments. And if you put Rose in the first team with the starters, what happens with our second team? You can't put Peyton in the second team. I think if you're not starting Peyton, then you're not playing him at all, right? I just don't see how he fits with that second team. So yes, I would continue to start Peyton, let him play his 12 to 13 minutes. Basically what he's doing is he's keeping our rotations intact. That being said, he could do more. I'm not sure what's going on with Peyton, but there was a time when he would put a lot of pressure on the defense. And with somebody like Trey, that's what you want, right? Trey is not a great defender. You want somebody that's going to put pressure on Trey, attack the basket, possibly draw fouls, right? If he can do that for us, wow. If Trey gets into foul trouble or he has to work, that definitely helps us, right? So let's see. But I think Tibbs knows at one point he was averaging 30 minutes a game, I want to say early in the season, then down to 20 minutes. Now he's down to 12. So Tibbs sees that he's not playing well and he's making the adjustments, right? It's not like, oh, Tibbs doesn't see what's going on. He's just playing him no matter what. He sees what's going on. He's playing 12 to 13 minutes a game, right? I think just to give Rose the rest that he needs. Will IQ and Obi play in this series? Yes. I think we need IQ to play. I think he's going to come up big for us in one of these games, right? I think they're going to have a game plan for him as well. And there may be games. He may not have as great a series as he's had in the regular season, but I still think there's going to be spots in particular games where he's going to come up big for us. So IQ is going to play. Depending on how things go, this is what Tibbs does with most of the plays. He may not play that long in the second half, depending on how things go. And I also think Obi plays, and this was brought up on NBK, Nothing But Knicks, so this is not my original thought. But Randall needs rest. Randall needs rest. So yeah, I think Obi is going to play. I don't think Obi needs to do much. Right? If he's just adequate defensively and he moves the ball offensively and Randall is able to rest and we don't lose much in those minutes that he's there, that's good enough, right? If he happens to score, get some rebounds, some block shots, some transition baskets, that's even better. But if he could just not be a disaster and not be a liability and Randall is able to get some run, that helps us. So I do think Obi is going to get some time in this series. Most likely to see minutes reduced in this series. I don't know if Elf's minutes can get reduced anymore, but maybe Elford, maybe Obi, but Randall does need the rest. Most likely player to shine and win a game for us, IQ. I can see him hitting a big shot for us, no question about it. And I can also see Frank coming up with a big defensive play down the stretch to seal a win for us or to help us win the game. I can see that as well. Finish this statement. We will lose this series if, I alluded to this already, Randall has difficulty scoring and his playmaking decisions are poor, or his playmaking decisions are good and he's getting the ball out and we're not hitting our shots. Yeah, we will lose the series if that happens more times than not. And who will win this series and how many games and why? I think I've pretty much alluded to this throughout. Knicks will win this series in 6 games because of our defense, because of Julius, because of our bench, who can not only shoot but get their own shots, and Tibbs. I don't believe there's any team in the NBA that is going to be more prepared for their first round opponent than the New York Knicks. Right? If they lose this series, it's not going to be because they weren't prepared for it or they missed something. That's not going to be the case. All right. Before I sign off, let me just Ian Clark, thank you so much for the super chat. Somebody asked if Mitch was coming back. I'm not sure. I haven't heard it. I don't. If I had to guess, I wouldn't think it would be for this round. Um, but I would love. I would love to have him. Shout out Kerry Cox. Appreciate you. Lopez Elite. Appreciate you. Kid Wavy. Appreciate you. I like that name too. Edwin NG. Appreciate you. Bodega Wi-Fi. All of you. I appreciate you for watching the show, for supporting Nothing But Knicks and the NBK family of shows throughout the season. We really do our best to bring you quality content. We don't just show up and flick on the mic. We definitely put some thought into what we're going to do because we respect you as the viewer. And I know for myself, and this is for other content creators, I'm new to this. I'm learning from them just what it takes to put on the show, and we put it on with you in mind, wanting to connect with you, wanting to make sure that you hear what the non-media outlets have to say, people who are more to the ground and who watch the Knicks. I watch the Knicks every single game, every single play. I pause it if I have to do something. I come back to make sure I don't miss anything. And that's to make sure I bring quality content. And I'm sure the other content creators on NBK, part of the NBK fam, does the same. That's it for today. I will see you next week. Enjoy the week. The Knicks play Sunday. I'll be at the game. Then we also play Wednesday. And I'm trying to, we play Wednesday. Then we play, I want to say, Friday and Sunday. So I think by the time we meet again, the Knicks will have only played twice. And we'll get a chance to talk about, we'll be able to talk about that game. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the week. As we say here at NBK, spread love, ladies and gentlemen. See you next time.
That's the